Hello, this is the Israel Conference, and we're bringing you yet another wonderful episode of Conversations. Fascinating conversations with business founders, industry influencers, and category creators. My name is Sharona Justman, and I'm the co-founder of the Israel Conference, focused on doing business with Israel. And today we're very fortunate to have the pleasure to meet with Levi Shapiro, the founder of mHEALTH Israel, a very large community focused on health tech, health devices, and we're going to learn a heck of a lot more about what this community is doing and what Levi's doing and what's been happening in Israel since October 7th. Levi, welcome.
Thank you, Sharona. It's delightful to be with you, and I've watched the Israel conference grow, and it is very inspiring what has been achieved. So congratulations.
Thank you very much, Levi. We are so fortunate to get to know entrepreneurs and business founders and visionaries like yourself to talk about how business is growing in Israel. And I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about mHEALTH, because I understand you just had this fabulous conference last week. Tell us a little bit about who was there and what were the discoveries pronounced.
Great. mHealth Israel is a nonprofit organization supporting Israel's health tech entrepreneurial community, spanning biotech, medtech, device, digital health, etc. More than 10,000 members. We do that by convening events. And as you mentioned, we were really the first major conference since October 7th. In spite of the war, people came out. It was a very emotional opportunity, most of which was entrepreneurs who do not quit in spite of these current challenges. We're hearing very good news in the health tech sector. So this is what we're up to. I'm also running a venture fund. I've been involved in several venture funds, and the focus is on AI-Healthtech. It's a fund that is based in Tel Aviv and Tokyo, investing in market-ready AI medtech companies. And I'm happy to talk about all of those things, but mostly the thing that I really want to talk about was the inspiration that I observed when the whole community came together last week, over capacity, more than 400 people. And the keynote was Izhar Shay, who was a former minister in the Naftali Bennett government, who on October 7th lost his son. His son, Yaron, who's known as Noni, fought and defended very bravely and heroically, but was killed, murdered. Overcoming that tragedy and despair, Izhar and his son, his surviving son, Ophir, have created an initiative which they talked about, honoring those 1,400 lost souls by aligning 1,400 new companies since October 2023, each of which will, in its own way, recognize and honor one of those 1,400 individuals. Everybody in the room was crying. It was incredibly emotional and incredibly inspiring. And that's what we feel in Israel right now. Israel has come together like a family. Israel is not always the easiest place, but during times of crisis, there's a spirit of volunteerism. There's a spirit of mutual support. We can talk about some of those initiatives that I've observed and that I've been involved with.
Levi, that sounds like it was a very emotional and stirring moment with the initiatives that Izhar Shay is promoting. I would imagine with a room filled with entrepreneurs, many people's hands went up and said they want to be part of the energy of developing 1,400 new endeavors with Izhar Shay's support, since he's such a remarkable businessman and venture capitalist in Israel. Did he elaborate, and did some of the entrepreneurs talk a little bit about the progress of their companies. And can you tell us a handful of different companies that we might be on the watch for?
Sure. So there is in building a medical and health related company, there's a secret sauce that some technology companies don't take into consideration, but that I sensed more than usual. That secret sauce is humanity. Humanity can differentiate a medical or a healthcare startup in the way that customers engage with the product. And I felt that humanity. I felt that humanity in particular from investors. We had two different panels oriented for investors, one for health technology investors and one for the health of our planet, climate tech investors. And they just want to help. Unlike usual, where there's sort of a confrontational or an adversarial relationship, we're at a moment where all of us are trying to be helpful. And I sensed that the humanity really transcended the different roles. Some of the startup companies that I found to be particularly interesting, we focused on generative AI in healthcare.
Okay.
nVidia has made Israel one of its global hubs for R&D, and they're actually quite prominent in NVIDIA's efforts towards next generation generative AI applied toward healthcare. There's some amazing Israeli companies who are doing interesting things in that domain. For example, VizAI has been a leader in this effort. Kai, also known as Kai.ai, they're very active. And they're also mental health at a moment when that's very much required. IBEX Medical is also doing some very interesting things in generative AI. So it's collaborative. There's a sense of humanity. It is the investors. It is the multinationals. It is the entrepreneurs, all of whom have one mission, same mission that mHealth Israel has had for 10 years, and that is improving the human condition, whether that's human health or the health of our planet. The only way to undertake these huge challenges is by interdisciplinary collaboration and a sense of humanity and humility. And I think I see more of that post October 7th, and I feel optimistic about what Israel can do. Israel is optimistic. We have to be. If we wallow in despair and anger, we will not be able to achieve objectives like improving the human condition. And I'm feeling good from what I saw from being around so many of these innovators.
It feels good just hearing about it. How many of the companies were early stage? How many of them are in growth stage or generating revenue with a customer base in Israel or worldwide?
Sure. So most of these are funded companies with a product in the market. The challenge at this moment, and this would be relevant to your community, is revenue. They have great products. They have evidence proving that their medical claims are valid. But this is a moment where additional investment is scarce, and therefore they need to generate revenue. And so they have a greater requirement at this moment to demonstrate to potential customers the ROI. How will their product benefit their customer to either save money or improve their own finances? That's a change. That's a fundamental requirement at this stage. And folks listening, if you want to be helpful, this pool of amazing technologies needs to grow by sales. And so relationships, introductions, all of that is very useful. As I said, most of these companies already have FDA approval. They already have conducted pilots. Right now, it's about scaling their companies with US customers.
And are some of those companies accessible through the mHealth website or through you? How would we find out a little bit more about how a group could become a customer or evaluate to become a customer?
There's lots of information that's publicly available. If you have a specific need, I would be more than happy. For 10 years now, I've been running mHealth Israel. I have a lot of personal relationships. It's very easy for me to direct a specific request to a relevant specific company. So please consider me a resource. It's something I enjoy doing, and it saves time for both parties.
So perhaps we could coordinate a time, Levi, when we could showcase five, six of the companies in fast presentations so that a targeted audience could look at them and say, I like what they're doing. Let's have a further conversation about possibly using that technology in our health environment.
Yeah, one of my favorite aspects of the Israel conference is the fast and cool section.
Thank you.
So the challenge is how can I be faster and cooler? And I guess I need you to help me with that. But we have lots of great companies. I suggest perhaps a session about generative AI in healthcare. Also climate tech, which I consider also to be part of health. And Israel is really putting efforts into building out a climate tech infrastructure.
Well, this
We're
is an
seeing
interesting definition to look at something called mHealth and think about it in terms of climate tech. How does it correlate?
one health, one health. That's human, animal, and environment. All of
I
that
see.
impacts each of us. A little thing called COVID-19 made that more clear than before. We have health challenges, and all of these are occurring in a broader context. And
Who are
so,
some of the who are some of the companies addressing climate tech that presented at the mHealth Israel conference?
Many of those companies were actually involved in the COP28 in Dubai. What we did was we presented the Israel Innovation Authority, who are funding quite a few of the climate tech earlier stage companies. They're providing matching funds, they're providing grants, they're providing resources, and a pool of climate dedicated investors. So, for example, there is an accelerator called Climate Launchpad. That was an active, they're very, very active in first money in. There is an incubator funded by a very prominent British investor called Capital Nature. There is more mature institutional capital, including the venture fund that's run by Dov Moran, the inventor of the disc on key. That's called Grove Ventures. There is trend lines, and they were coming at climate from the point of view of agri-food and more sustainable agri-food. So there's a whole ecosystem. Oh, and I also left out Terra Ventures, which again is a graduate of an IIA, Israel Innovation Authority incubator construct, which has become now an institutional venture fund and focused exclusively on improving the climate. So the investors enable the entrepreneurs. Smart people need capital. It's the oxygen of innovation. That's another reason why at this moment, when foreign capital is a bit more scarce, we, the investment community, have to find our humanity and work more closely to allow companies to sustain. So my particular fund,
Exactly.
Triage Health Tech, has a unique mandate. We are working with market-ready companies that are encountering a cash crisis due to the scarce capital because of the war. So a
Mm.
million or 2 million at this moment can help offset payroll, can help maintain operations, and can ensure that projects continue. These are very attractive companies that are further along in terms of their product development. And the terms are very favorable for the investor. So that's why we've been able to receive matching funds from the Japanese government of all sources, one-to-one matching funds in order to invest in these companies, which will ultimately change healthcare globally.
That's quite a remarkable direction to bring the Japanese business community into the Israeli business community. It's a combining of interesting skill sets. Uh, what is your background working with the Japanese market, and how did you bring the Japanese into Israel?
So I'm a Japanophile. I lived there in my 20s. I speak the language. I've always believed that there's a lot that each market can do for the other, and it's underexploited. I think October 7th really crystallized where Israel sits geopolitically and who are our real friends. So the United States has been terrific, and China, Russia have not. Japan, I believe, shares Israel's values. I think Japan shares a lot of cultural issues. They have the highest literacy rate in the world, and Israel and the Jewish people are the people of the book. And they are very technical, and there's a lot of room for collaboration. So this was in the works for a long time, but October 7th really crystallized that we need one another, that Israeli chutzpah, Japanese know-how combined can be a very powerful source, a powerful resource.
Well, you're leading the charge in a completely new direction, which therefore will probably be very successful. If people want to talk to you further about triage, what is the website that they can learn more about?
TriageHealthTech.com. And
Excellent.
we call it triage because at this moment, a little bit of capital can be the difference between a future unicorn or soonicorn versus a company that has to delay projects and maybe misses the window for growth. So this is an opportunity to address the key component of Israel's economy, which is technology, and the largest domain, roughly 30% of technology, is medical and healthcare. So this is an
Yeah.
opportunity to make a difference, get an interesting return, and ideally improve the human condition. And that's really
Yeah.
what Israel is all about.
Very noble and very specific. The events of October 7th really changed all of us in the sense of waking up and being strong and identifying areas where we can contribute directly to help Israel as a state and Israelis worldwide, and of course the Jewish people worldwide as a subset of being Israeli. What are some of the activities that you've been involved in while you're living in Israel? And where do you see energies flowing?
One of the initiatives that our organization undertook was to identify volunteers who could support Israeli medical and health tech startup companies that were understaffed due to the draft, due to conscription. So we were able to place some very talented people with Israeli companies who were able to contribute in the short term. For a long time, I've been running a subset of mHealth Israel oriented towards Russian-speaking immigrants. We call it mHealth RU, short for Russian. And for about the last 6 months, we've been meeting monthly, maybe 50 native Russian speakers who have immigrated almost entirely since the Ukrainian war began. These are people with tremendous skills, many of whom have struggled, in spite of their skills, to find full-time employment. And we've been able to find some very interesting matches during the war. So, that initiative is very fulfilling.
That's remarkable. The occurrence of new immigrants from the Ukraine, probably highly educated and talented, helping to place them in positions that can convert into future full-time engagement and employment. So that's part of the general mission of the Israel Conference is job creation. That's checks that box in a beautiful way, Levi. But it also shows how you can keep the economy rolling despite a terror attack against Israel through that very creative, very clever approach. How many folks have been placed to date?
Just to emphasize, Israel has almost no natural resources. We don't have enough water. We certainly don't have high quality land. But the resource that we have is people. And many of these Russian speakers fled Putin's Russia in order to live free from war. And I admire their spirit for picking up, and it's not been easy for them either since October 7th. But dozens of people have been able to contribute to this effort, working for particular companies, applying their skills, all with the same goal. How can they be active? How can they contribute? And anybody listening to this, there's so many things you can do. There's so many things you can do, and you can do it from the United States. You can do it from anywhere. Israelis and Jews, they need a big hug. So finding a way to express our solidarity, express our unity, that's quite uplifting. In your local community, there's plenty to do, and we're grateful to everybody who is participating now and is there for helping us through a very dark period.
Well, that's something that's inspiring, Levi. Thank you for reminding us all that when we stand up and we speak out in a very earnest way about our love of Israel, our appreciation of Israel, and our pride in what Israel has brought to the world, it's something that we need not be silent about, but rather be quite vocal. And thanks to you and what you're doing with mHealth and what you're doing with mHealth RU, you're making a huge difference. So thank you very, very much for all that you've been doing.
And thank you over the years. It's been a pleasure to be involved with the Israel Conference. It's really an amazing accomplishment. You've created a community, and Los Angeles is such a fundamental ally for Israel. And and not just Los Angeles, California. So there's no catalyst like you, Sharona, and we're very grateful from this side.
Well, thank you, Levi. The admiration flows directly from me to you as well. And we will see you on the other side of this terrorism war against Israel, stronger, and we will look to see Triage Fund grow and grow so that it can help many companies flourish in years to come. Thank you, Levi Shapiro, mHealth Israel, and Triage HealthTech. Shalom.
Thank you. Shalom.
To see more conversations with extraordinary Israeli entrepreneurs, visit theisraelconference.org.